Alright everyone, we should be live. Oh, my ear. We're going to start in a couple of minutes. Got some preamble to show you guys before PMQ starts, so that should be fun. But other than that, not much. Yeah. Been a rough couple of days. Stupid football. There was a funny video I want to show you guys with the worst green screen I've ever seen.
I'm going to tell you about a great offer coming to you. It's
about this looks like an 80s advert, and the green screen effect is like really bad. You definitely know they paid a lot of money for this advert because it's intentionally cringe, but it's like worse than that, if that makes sense.
British rail sale offering over 1 million advance tickets to passengers with up to a massive 50% off. Why not take a trip to Edinburgh to take in the
Why didn't you take a trip to Edinburgh? Why are you using a green screen?
sweeping views from Arthur's Seat? Or if it's sea and sand that you want, well, head to Cornwall with its stretches of beautiful sand and crashing waves. Or visit the Lake District, the land of dancing daffodils and full of love from Wordsworth's paradise. Or
Like, you can tell it's intentionally meant to be cringe, but it's way worse than that.
come down to London for a bit of retail therapy. You know, we've had 2 years of living life virtually. It's time to get real and visit our beautiful country.
You can tell how out of touch this geezer is because we're in a cost of living crisis, my friend. You don't have time, or a lot of people don't have money to be going out of town to other cities and go on a shopping spree in London because they can't afford to keep their homes, big man.
And cut.
And look, this is how you know it's meant to be intentionally cringe.
Where's he going?
But yeah, it's... And the worst thing is, right, if you time it, you might be able to just get a frame. Maybe not. I was thinking that they might have given him a full... You can almost get a full green screen with Grant Shapps. Like, that is asking for disaster. That's asking for bad times right there. I mean, whoever allowed this to happen with the green screen, like, if you're a talented editor or like you got basic editing skills, you could really punk Grant Shapps. So yeah, that's the funny video. I'm probably gonna cover this in a separate video. Grant Shapps, the most cringe minister. But you know, we're gonna go to something more serious, which is Keir Starmer absolutely eviscerating Boris Johnson yesterday at in Parliament when Boris Johnson, you know, gave his little apology. You know, he said, "Oh, I didn't realise what I did was illegal, but you know, it's just a speeding ticket, bro."
As the latest mealy-mouthed apology stumbles out of one,
and he's going for it here, and I have to respect him for it.
Side of his mouth, a new set of deflections and distortions pour from the other. But the damage is already done.
Yep.
The public have made up their mind. They don't believe a word the Prime Minister says. They know what he is. As ever with this Prime Minister, those close to him find themselves ruined, and the institutions he vows to protect damaged. Good ministers forced to walk away from public service. The Chancellor's career up in flames. And
That's true. You know, Sunak, you know, people think it's the non-dom stuff that really killed Sunak. It's the cost of living stuff that really killed Sunak, to be honest. But those were all his decisions. You know, those weren't on Boris Johnson. He could be a much more free-spending Chancellor. Sorry about that. He could be a much more free-spending Chancellor, but he chooses not to be, and that's because of his ideology. You know, he's a Thatcherite, I think.
Leader of the Scottish Conservatives rendered pathetic.
Oh my God, I need to get around to covering that. But basically, he called for Boris Johnson's initial resignation if Boris Johnson had misled the House, and essentially he said Boris Johnson has to resign over the Partygate stuff, from what I remember. And then what happened was he had to double back on that, and he kind of circled the wagons around Boris Johnson. It was glorious. I will cover that. I'm very far behind, as you can tell, but oh my God, Boris Johnson cucked the guy so hard.
For all those unfamiliar with this Prime Minister's career, this isn't some fixable glitch in the system. It's the whole point.
And that's something he needs to point out as well. Like, this is Boris Johnson. This is what he does. It's one rule for me and one rule for you.
It's what he does. It's who he is. He knows he's dishonest and incapable of changing. So he drags everybody else down with him.
Just like Donald Trump has. You know, the only one out of the cabinet who actually looks like they are doing well is Liz Truss. That's it. She's the only one that's looked upon favourably by the party, by the looks of things. The rest of them are not doing that great. You've got Brandon Lewis. He's a mess every time he goes for an interview. You've got Priti Patel. She's getting absolute pelters because of the you know, the refugee crisis, really, of people coming here in boats. And you know, there are a lot of Tories who don't like that because they're racist. Let's be real here. Who else is there? Name a minister, and I'll tell you that they're probably not doing too great, as long as it's not some backbencher or some minor minister. But for the most part, you know, the top tier, they're not doing too good. Sunak's his own worst enemy in that regards, but you know, he has dragged everyone else down with him.
The more people debase themselves, parroting is
Order! I can't hear what's being said because you're making it up. Mr. Babrican, I'm all right.
Yeah, Whig boy, shut up.
Keir Starmer. What I would say is, I
don't know who looks desperate, but I'm assuming it must be Boris Johnson, because Starmer looks like how he normally does, but slightly angrier.
the leader said dishonest. I don't think that's an appropriate word.
It's true though. It's true. Like, I'm getting sick of this geezer as well.
I think I will make. We don't want to talk about breaking rules, do we? I don't think that's a good time to discuss.
Yeah, shut up, big boy.
I think if he just withdraws that and works around it, I'm sure that with the knowledge that he's gained over many, many years, he can use appropriate words that is in keeping with good temperate language of this House. Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, I respect that ruling from the Chair. The Prime Minister knows what he is. And so...
I mean, he would call himself the world king, but okay.
He drags everyone else down with him. The more people debase themselves, parroting his absurd defences.
Ambushed by cake. Oh, it was his wife's fault. It was someone else's fault. It's not him. It's like a speeding ticket. All of this stuff. It's not working anymore. You know, I don't think the lies are working anymore. Especially with the way Starmer kind of does this. It's very Corbyn-esque, where he comes out with an example of an actual person, maybe a constituent, maybe not, but someone who actually had to live through an experience, which is what Corbyn used to do a lot of, which people criticised him for, because I think his follow-up questions were non-existent. But what Starmer does in this speech is very, very good in that respect. So we'll go through it a bit more, because we've got a while till PMQ starts anyways.
The more the public will believe all politicians are the same, all as bad as each other, and that suits this Prime Minister just fine. Some members opposite seem oblivious to the Prime Minister's game.
I don't think they're oblivious. I think they're trying to hedge their bets and figure out what's better for their for their careers. Really, if they're a minister, they're trying to figure that out. If they're a backbencher, they're trying to figure out how to keep their seat the best they can, especially a lot of the red wall ones.
Some know what he's up to, but are too weak to act.
Yep.
But others...
And that's the thing, right? You play the game of incompetent or what's it called? I can't remember the other word. Or malicious, really. Because you can't claim you're oblivious to what the Prime Minister's done when it's out there. He apologised for breaking the rules. He can say he inadvertently did it, but he acknowledged he broke the rules. So the question is, are you going to ask for him to be punished or investigated?
Are gleefully playing the part the Prime Minister cast for them. A minister on the radio this morning saying it's the same as a speeding ticket.
He also had to U-turn on that really quickly. It was so embarrassing. Like, he said it and then he kind of U-turned on it, and then the host was like, "You literally just said that."
No, it's not. No one has ever broken down in tears because they couldn't drive faster than 20 miles an hour outside a school.
Except maybe Jeremy Clarkson. Lol, joke. Don't see me. But, you know, this is where he gets into the good stuff of the argument, where it's not the same. This is really good stuff here.
Insult the public with this nonsense. But, Mr. Speaker, as it happens, the last minister who got a speeding ticket and then lied about it ended up in prison, and I know because I prosecuted him.
And this is where a lot of people, idiots on Twitter, don't actually understand how the CPS works. And they'll try and blame Starmer for other people who weren't prosecuted when that's not how the CPS works. Like, they have they have lots of lawyers who deal with other stuff. Like, Starmer would have been one lawyer dealing with this case. So a lot of people don't understand how the CPS works, and it shows.
And last week we were treated to a grotesque spectacle. One of the Prime Minister's loyal supporters accusing teachers and nurses of drinking in the staff room during lockdown.
That's Donald Trump Jr. and Michael Fabricant. We covered that.
Members opposite can associate themselves with that if they want. But those of us who take pride in our NHS workers, our teachers...
For the people who just joined, thank you. This is from yesterday. PMQs hasn't quite started yet. We've got about another 10 minutes. 13 minutes.
Every other key worker who got us through those dark days will never forget their contempt. Plenty didn't agree with every rule the Prime Minister wrote, but they followed them nonetheless.
Which is true, because if you look at the way the numbers fall down, you know, the corona cases after the lockdowns, the vast majority of people did follow the rules, which makes Boris Johnson's actions far worse.
Because in this country, we respect others.
I wouldn't go that far. Maybe, like, in this country, we pretend to. It's mainly just white people trying to respect other white people for the most part.
The greater good above narrow self-interest, and we understand that the rules apply to all of us. This morning, I spoke to John Robinson.
This is the bit where it's very Corbyn-esque what he does by coming up with a real life example. You know, someone who actually had to live through something, which makes it far different from just a bunch of people in a Westminster bubble. Like, this could have been a lot of people's realities, and it probably was for people, you know, that they couldn't say goodbye to the people they cared about most. And so this example is a very, very good example. And this is one where, you know, as long as he has the permission of the person, which it seems like he does, I would cite this a lot and say, this is Boris Johnson was partying when people can, you know, say goodbye to their family members. They will never get that chance again. Boris Johnson could have waited. He could have waited till after the lockdowns ended, like a responsible person, and he could have partied all night if he wanted to, just like he has done more recently. But he chose not to. He chose to have leaving parties and other things for staff members when he was the one making the rules, so people could not gather. That's what I would do, anyways. But we'll see what Starmer does in the next couple of weeks.
Constituent of the member for Lichfield.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who the member for Lichfield is.
I want to tell you his...
If you could Google that just on the fly, just let me know.
...story. When his wife died of COVID, John and his family obeyed the Prime Minister's rules. He didn't see her in hospital. He didn't hold her hand as she died. Their daughters and grandchildren drove 100 miles up the motorway, clutching a letter from the funeral director in case they were questioned by the police.
You know, that's just insane, isn't it? You know, because we were told don't go out unless it's necessary, and you know the situation was that they had to hold on to this letter. They couldn't say goodbye. You know, kids couldn't say goodbye to their mum. You know, that's haunting. That's haunting, to be honest. And this could have been a reality. This was the reality for some people, and this could have been the case for a lot more people. Trust me on that one.
They didn't have a service.
You notice how that group, the backbenchers, they're all silent now. They're all silent.
John's son-in-law stayed away because he would have been the forbidden seventh mourner.
That's crazy. You know, like that person there, you know, being the one to not go, that must be incredibly difficult as well. You know, to make the decision, like, I'll let you guys go, I won't go, because they weren't allowed to have more than 6 people, which, what can you say, really?
Doesn't the Prime Minister realise that John would have given the world to hold his dying wife's hand, even if it was just for 9 minutes? But he didn't, because he followed the Prime Minister's rules. Rules that we now know the Prime Minister blithely, repeatedly and deliberately ignored. Yes. After months of insulting excuses, today's half-hearted apology will never be enough for John Robinson. If the Prime Minister had any respect for John, and the millions like him who sacrificed everything to follow the rules, he'd resign.
Shouldn't be just him. It'd be anyone who was at those parties. You know, the birthday one he might be able to get away with. It's not the most egregious one, in all honesty. It's the Lee Kane one. If that one's true, that one's particularly egregious because apparently it's Boris Johnson giving out drinks as well. That one is the worst one, to be honest, from what I've heard. I've not heard of too many other lockdown parties apart from the Lee Kane one. But if you guys have, then let me know. But it's particularly egregious.
But he won't.
Yeah, man, minor toothache, but apart from that, I'm fine. I'm going to get it checked out properly next month. Finally got myself registered at a dentist properly, which was lucky. It's one nearby, so I'm going to get everything checked out soon and just go every 3 months because I'm not messing around anymore.
Because he doesn't respect John. He doesn't respect the sacrifice of the British public.
What I would have said was he didn't respect John then, and he doesn't respect John now. Because if he respects John and the thousands of other people who went through the same thing where they lost loved ones and they couldn't say goodbye, he would resign now. He would go absolutely now. That's what I would have said. But Salman does a very admirable job here.
He is a man without shame. Looking past the member for Lichfield and the nodding dogs in the cabinet, there are many decent, honourable members on the benches opposite.
I would disagree with that statement, but I know what he's trying to do, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to, just like Ian Blackford has been doing, he's trying to force the backbenchers into doing something, into rebelling against Johnson. There is a vote, I believe it's today or Thursday, about having one of the select committees or one of the groups in Parliament investigate Boris Johnson and look at what actually happened. And those Tories who blocked that investigation will reveal that they believe in a lawless executive. That's what they'd be showing at that point. And if that does happen, I will do my best to cover that. Lots of tabs open. I've had a couple of days off, but I will. If they block an investigation, what they're saying is they want an executive that doesn't have to follow the law.
Who do respect John Robinson, who do respect the British public. They know the damage the Prime Minister is doing. They know things can't go on as they are. And they know it's their responsibility to bring an end to this shameful chapter. Today I urge them once again, don't follow in the slipstream of an out-of-touch, out-of-control Prime Minister. Put their conscience first. Put their country first. Put John Robinson first. And remove the Prime Minister from office. Yeah.
What Starmer is trying to do, I think, is trying to put this above, basic party politics. That's what he's trying to do. It's a very intelligent move from him. But we'll see. I can see them blocking it. I don't know if they'll have the votes necessary. Johnson gave a speech to the 1922 committee where he apparently said it's either me or Labour, which I don't know. That's a very low bar, and I don't know what the thoughts are of the 1922 committee, but I don't think that they'll think it's the case. I think they could see it as if Boris Johnson stays in charge, they'll end up with a Labour government next. Well, that's my hope anyways, but we'll see what happens with that.
Bring decency, honesty and integrity back into our politics and stop the denigration of everything that this country stands for.
I mean, he just, that's what I want to see more from Starmer. That's the kind of forensic stuff that they kept saying that he has. This was masterfully done, and you know what? That example he showed was one where if that didn't happen to you, you can imagine it happening to you. That's kind of, and that was the reality for a lot of people, and it's sad. But this man here with the whack haircut, he partied as this happened. As people died, and I hope people remember that in the next election. I hope people remember it wasn't just him. It would have been other people as well. But if there's an investigation that's blocked, it'd be all of these people responsible for blocking an investigation to look into the lawless executive. But we're going to go to PMQs.
Hello, mate.
I'm going to lower the volume because that's hella loud. Let me know if there's any audio issues or anything like that as well. I can change the volume here. I'm going to turn off these comments. Is there a way for me to turn it off? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, here we go.
Laura, stop with 5.
Sorry.
We'll skip to. We'll see what.
The whole House will want to join me in wishing Her Majesty the Queen between us.
Dr. Neil Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Challenges with rural transport remain some of the greatest obstacles facing people in Penrith and the border, and I was
Yeah, you idiots have had 12 years to sort that out, mate.
pleased last year to see, on top of the government's
Actually, I don't know if he's a Labour guy. I should have been paying more attention.
£3 billion national bus strategy helping areas like Cumbria, that Cumbria County Council received an additional £1.5 million to enhance provision as part of the Rural Mobility Fund. But I'm sure my right honourable friend can only imagine my disappointment this month when Cumbria was allocated no funding from the latest tranche of bus funding. Can the Prime Minister reassure my constituents that Cumbria can look forward to future funding schemes to improve our vital rural bus services?
Prime Minister.
Oh, he's a Tory. No, screw this guy.
Okay, Mike, I thank my honourable friend. He is a great champion for rural Cumbria and for bus services, and he's
Bus, things like bus services and trains are really important because the more people who have to drive, the more pollution there is. But more importantly, the more cars there are on the road, which causes more traffic problems as well. If everyone who took the bus had a car, traffic wouldn't go anywhere.
right that Cumbria got put more into buses. I believe in them passionately myself.
Why don't you use the Level Up money to do it then? I thought that's what the Level Up Fund was all about. Putting money into these rural kind of areas. This man looks like he hasn't slept in like 2 weeks. Is that what middle age looks like? I'm scared.
And I will make sure that he has a meeting with the relevant minister.
We now come to
That'll
the
be Grant Shapps, I think. Okay, here we go.
leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer.
I don't know how he's going to top yesterday, to be honest, but we move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Prime Minister in wishing Her Majesty a happy birthday?
Who cares?
Why did the Prime Minister's press secretary, Allegra Stratton, have to resign from her job?
That's an alright first question, I guess.
Minister.
Sorry. I bitterly regret Allegra's resignation. I think it was very sad. And I think she did an outstanding job. But I do.
She didn't do much, to be honest. Her highlight was making that video where she jokes about a party and then she cries because she has to resign. Like that's her highlight of her job. She did nothing. Like she was meant to be like what Jen Psaki is for the Joe Biden, where she was meant to field questions for the Prime Minister, but then it just kind of fizzled out. Like it was pointless. Might have been because of the pandemic, but it was genuinely one of the biggest wastes of taxpayer money for like a vanity project.
Particularly, since she was the one who coined the expression coal, cars, cash and trees, which enabled the UK to deliver a fantastic COP26 summit last year.
What? Coal, cars, cash and trees? What?
Keir Starmer.
Allegra Strachan laughed at breaking the rules. She resigned.
She didn't laugh at her breaking the rules. She laughed at other people kind of breaking the rules and trying to defend the rule breaking. That's what I think she laughed at.
The Prime Minister then claimed he was furious at her behaviour and accepted her resignation. Professor Neil Ferguson broke the rules. He also resigned. The Prime Minister said that was the right thing to do. The former Health Secretary broke the rules.
Matt Hancock, Mr. Kissy Kissy.
He too resigned. The Prime Minister tried to claim he sacked him. Why does the Prime Minister think everybody else's actions have consequences except his own?
I thank the right honourable gentleman. I feel he's in some kind of Doctor Who time warp. We had this conversation yesterday, Mr. Speaker.
It wouldn't be Doctor Who really. Doctor Who doesn't really do time loops like that. It'd be more like Time Splitters. Time Splitters, they do these kind of time loops, I think.
And I've explained why I bitterly regret receiving an FPN. I apologise to the House. But he asks about the actions for which I take responsibility. And I'll tell him we're going to get on with delivering for the British...
Oh, I forgot to do PMQ's bingo. I'm going to do that next week then. We'll do like a bingo. I'll write it down on a piece of paper and then we'll see who can win that. No prizes, obviously, but I think it'll be quite fun.
People, making sure...
delivering for the British people will definitely be on there. Okay.
And making sure that we power out of the problems that COVID has left us, and more people in work than there were before the pandemic.
I don't think that one's actually true. I think these have been fact-checked. I think you've been fact-checked on that one.
Mr. Speaker, fixing our energy problems and leading the world in standing up to the aggression of Vladimir Putin. Those are all subjects about which I think he could reasonably ask questions now.
I think you see how he wants to move away from the resignation stuff. I thought he was going to say levelling up, to be honest. I'm annoyed he didn't say it, but I think he might say it.
These are strange answers from a man who yesterday claimed to be making a humble apology.
I posted the GIF, in Max's server, of Conor McGregor saying, I want to apologise to absolutely nobody. That's what Boris Johnson basically does.
Does the Prime Minister actually accept that he broke the law?
And say I inadvertently broke the law. I mean, these are very short questions.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I've been absolutely clear that I humbly accept what the police have said. I've paid the fixed penalty notice. And, Mr. Speaker, what I think the country and what I think the whole House would really rather do is get on with the things for which we were elected.
Level up.
On our promises to the...
Wait, did he say it? Did he say it?
Get on with the things for which we were elected. Deliver on our promises to the British people. And you could not have clearer evidence of the intellectual bankruptcy of Labour. They have no plans for energy. They have no...
That's not true. I thought they have offered plans. They're not the best plans in the world, but they did talk about cutting VAT, increasing the fuel duty, I think it is, or fuel allowance to like £400 or something like that. So they do actually have ideas. So he's just lying here.
And they have no...
What the hell was that?
No plans for energy. They have no plans for social care. And they have...
What the hell? What is going on with the speaker?
No, they have no plans, Mr. Speaker, to fix the economy.
Prime Minister, sit down. I want to hear you...
Sit down, blood. Sit down. That was the most aggression I've seen out of Lindsay Hoyle.
Mr. Speaker, to fix the economy.
Prime Minister, sit down. I want to hear what you've got to say, but I can't hear when you're talking that way. I'm here in the chair, please.
Finally, he addresses that because Boris Johnson looks the complete other direction. It's not just Johnson, it's like Rayner did it as well, where she looked off to her left, which is the opposite side of the speaker, which I found bizarre.
You can help me. No, I think we'll have had enough.
Oh my god, he just cut him off. That's great. Oh my god.
The state of it, the party of Peel and Churchill reduced to shouting and screaming in defence of this lawbreaker.
burn. That was he's you know what I mean. Like Boris Johnson is a sitting duck here, but at least he's taken advantage of it. I mean, this is I don't know who Peel is, but this was another fatality.
Of Peel and Churchill reduced to shouting and screaming in defence of this lawbreaker.
And the thing is, right, the more they shout and scream, the more it kind of shows this point of that's all they can do. You know, like he's kind of put him in a bit of a trap here, which is, you know, smart. You know, for once, you know, you got to give him credit. Why? Who's shouting Jeremy Corbyn? What is this?
Last time, that Peroni that you just asked about, you might have to go and take it. I don't hear any more, or else you will be drinking. Okay, stop.
Peroni.
So, Mr. Speaker, yesterday's apology lasted for as long as the Prime Minister thought necessary to be clipped for the news. But once...
Again, that's all they can do, shout and scream. That's it. That's all they have.
Once the cameras were off, the Prime Minister went to see his backbenchers, and he was back to blaming everyone else. He even said that the Archbishop of Canterbury had not been critical enough of Putin.
That's not his job. That's not the Archbishop's job, is it?
The Archbishop called Putin's war an act of great evil.
And then, like, they tell him to stay out of politics when he criticises them, yet when he supports them or when he criticises other people, he should stay in politics. Which one is it? Do you want him out or in? You know, it's ridiculous.
The Church of England has led the way in providing refuge to those fleeing.
Should have done more during the pandemic, though. They should have done a lot more.
Would the Prime Minister like to take this opportunity to apologise for slandering the Archbishop and the Church of England?
Ooh. Oh, that's another one. But again, you know, these aren't the best questions to be used during Prime Minister's questions, I think. These are more like, not superficial questions, but not policy-based, I guess. But, you know, we'll see what he says here. He might deny saying it altogether. So look at them. Look, all they can do is shout and scream. This lady stood up for some reason. She's going to square up. What's going on here?
Mr. Speaker.
Why? I don't understand, Prime Minister. I don't understand Parliament. Why stand up just to sit down? Like, are you just trying to make it so the cameras can see you?
I think the right honourable gentleman. I was slightly taken aback to be for the government. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I was slightly taken aback for the government to be.
See, look, he figured it out.
Criticised over the policy that we have devised to end the deaths at sea.
It won't end anything because Rwanda. First of all, it's a stupid policy. Let's get that out of the way. It's a very expensive, stupid policy. Okay, not many people are going to go to Rwanda because Rwanda is not, the allocation isn't very high, so it's not a deterrent in that sense. Also, if these people are going to cross the English Channel, which is very, very dangerous, do you think they won't, factor in there's a chance they might be sent to Rwanda? You know, they're going to factor that in. So they're going to think the probability is it's not going to happen. That's the way they're going to see it, because the probability of them crossing the English Channel isn't the highest.
The channel as a result of cruel criminal gangs.
If we actually create safe points of entry and legal methods to come to the UK, we wouldn't be seeing the deaths in the Channel anywhere near as bad as it is now. If we actually set up processing facilities in France to process people's applications, we would not be seeing the problems we're seeing now. So this whole thing is in part a creation of the government, not the entire refugee crisis, but through bad foreign policy decisions we have helped to create a crisis. But the issues with people coming here from France is something the Tory government could help prevent, but they're not doing it.
I was surprised that we were attacked for that. And actually, Mr. Speaker, it turns out that policy, do you know who proposed that policy, first of all, in 2004? It was David Blunkett, Mr. Speaker, who said it was a 21st century solution to the problems of illegal asylum seeking and immigration. He should stick with, he's a Corbynista in a smart Islington suit. That's the truth.
What? Like, one guy came up with an idea which was poo-pooed by the people to the point where Labour never implemented it. I don't think it even got any traction, no votes in Parliament or anything like that. It's a stupid point from Blunkett, and it's a stupid point from Johnson. I think that idea came out in like 2004. That's almost 20 years ago. I think this is the last one.
And Mr. Corbyn doesn't have the whip. But I think that's a no then. Pathetic. He never takes responsibility for his words or action. They were all there. The Prime Minister also accused the BBC.
Oh, also,
of
yeah,
not
that's a good point. He didn't actually address the point about the Archbishop of Canterbury. He just deflected.
being critical enough of Putin. Would the Prime Minister have the guts to say that to the face of Clive Myrie, Lise Doucet and Steve Rosenberg, who have all risked their lives day in, day out on the front line in Russia and Ukraine, uncovering Putin's barbarism?
If the right honourable gentleman wants to join the Conservative Party and come and listen to the meetings of the Conservative Party, he's welcome to do it. But though, as I say, I think he's a Corbynista in an Islington suit. But I said nothing of the kind.
Nadeem Zahawi, it's so funny, isn't it? That's me, closer to me right now, the kind of eye roll. But yeah, he's so funny, isn't he, Nadeem Zahawi?
And I have the highest admiration as a journalist.
Where's Sunak at, anyways?
The former journalist, for what journalists do.
No, mate, you weren't a journalist. You just made up stuff. That's not what journalism is. Journalism is about holding powerful people accountable. That's what journalism is. That's what real journalism is. What you did was make up stories about bending bananas in the EU, mate. That's not journalism.
They do an outstanding. I mean, I think he should withdraw what he just said. It has absolutely no basis or foundation in truth.
Mate, the only thing that's getting withdrawn is your hairline, mate. State of you.
Keir Starmer.
That's how he operates. A merely mouthed apology when the cameras roll, a vicious attack on those who tell the truth as soon as the cameras are off. Slander
He's rattled him. He's absolutely rattled him. Look at the state of this man.
As soon as the cameras are off.
Look at him. Look at this. He's rattled. Oh my God, he's absolutely broken him.
Slander decent people in a private room. Let the slander spread without the backbone to repeat it in public.
If he says it now, he's got parliamentary privilege. So, again, he's absolutely rattled him here. Look at this man.
To claim to be a patriot when he deliberately attacks and degrades the institutions of our great country.
That's got to be the last one, surely.
How many does he have? Mr. Speaker. Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
No, premise, just a second. I want to hear the Prime Minister's answers. I expect it both ways. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is an indication of the depths to which he's willing to sink. That he accuses me. He accuses me of traducing journalists. What he says is completely without any foundation whatever.
You'd be the expert on that, mate, wouldn't you?
At the BBC last night for their coverage of Ukraine. He must be out of his tiny mind, Mr. Speaker.
Tiny mind? That sounds like an insult, Mr. Speaker. I thought we're not allowed to do those in the House of Commons. What's up with that, man?
I said no such thing, and there are people behind who will testify to that. He is completely wrong, Mr. Speaker. That is the limit. That is the limit of his willingness to ask sensible questions today. We are getting on.
Mate,
this government is getting on with the serious problems that
level up.
attention.
Level up.
Fixing our energy supply issues, and by the way, undoing the damage of the Labour government that didn't invest in nuclear power.
Bro, that was what, 12 years ago? You guys could have done that in the space of a decade. You guys, those nuclear power plants might not be operational yet. Actually, they should have been, really, considering Hinkley Point C is still not operational. Might not be until about 2027, from what I've read. So yeah, blaming New Labour again, boring, sigh.
We're with a nuclear power station every year. Standing up to Putin, Mr. Speaker, when he would have elected a Putin apologist. That's what he wanted to do, and he campaigned to do that, Mr. Speaker. And fixing our economy with record numbers of people now in work, productivity back above what it was.
Is it though? Is productivity back up? Is it?
500,000 people back on the payroll than there were before the pandemic began, Mr. Speaker. That is as a result of the decisions, the tough calls this government has made. We get on with the job while they flip-flop around like beached Flanders on the beach, Mr. Speaker.
Beached flounders on the beach. Oh my god, that is the worst insult I've ever heard. Beached flounders on the beach. Just say beached flounders. Oh, this guy, honestly, he's rattled, isn't he? Look at the guy. I think that Starmer's bit over. I want to see what Mr. Blackford has to say. That's all they got, man. Charting and all this nonsense.
Be back a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Founded in Hitchin by an inspirational man called Richard Lucas, the GoVox mental well-being platform was started in 2018 following the sad loss of some local young men to suicide. Since then, working with brilliant partners like NHSX, King's College London and others, the technology platform and support services have grown to support the mental well-being and mental health of over 40,000 young people in over 10 countries. Today, GoVox is launching its campaign to offer its services free to over 1,000 state secondary schools.
Do you think that company's donated any money to him? I say that in jest, but you never know.
Prime Minister welcome this initiative, perhaps go to Hitchin and meet the people from GoVox, and secondly, could he set out what more we can do to help young people and young men with the problems of mental health and mental well-being?
How about invest in the NHS and invest more in mental health services to help people, help reduce the stigma around it? You know, these are things that the government could be doing. Suppose maybe reducing the cost of living crisis, which is impacting a lot of people, especially younger people as well. Given that we don't have as much saved capital as hopefully older people have, but you know the cost of living crisis is affecting everyone. Really, it's damaging kind of Gen Xers, Boomers. Everyone's been impacted really badly by it. So maybe if you invest properly in the economy, we wouldn't be seeing as much mental health problems. I'm not saying economic factors are the only cause of mental health problems, but they are a key part of it.
Yeah. I thank him very much. I thank my honourable friend. I'm very pleased to hear about the work that
we're going to skip through, after this answer, we're going to skip through it to Ian Blackford.
GoVox is doing to support mental health and well-being, and we're putting more money into mental health care support, an extra 2.3 billion a year in the next financial year, which of course we can supply thanks to the decisions taken by this government, which actually that party opposed.
We now come to the leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Here we go. My God, go on, Ian Blackford. Let's see what he's got.
Mr. Speaker, can I join the Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition in wishing Her Majesty the Queen best wishes for her birthday tomorrow?
I want to see him say something on the lines of, you claim you like the Queen, but you want to leave the Union. Something stupid like that.
Mr. Speaker, last night the Prime Minister might have convinced his backbenchers and his spineless Scottish Tories to keep him in place for another few weeks. But the public aren't so easily fooled. 82% of people in Scotland said they believe the Prime Minister lied to this Parliament and to the public about his law-breaking COVID parties. Are they right, or should they not believe their lying eyes?
Prime Minister.
I thank the right honourable gentleman. We had a long conversation about this yesterday. I understand the point of his question, but we are going to get on with the job of delivering for the people of the whole of the United Kingdom.
If the Prime Minister wants to get on, he should be offering his resignation to the Queen before her birthday. Mr. Speaker, no government can be led by a Prime Minister who's in a constant state of crisis to save his own skin. And what's worse, the UK government is now led by a tag team of scandal. A Prime Minister who can't be trusted with the truth, and a Chancellor who can't be trusted with his taxes. Everyone knows...
The taxes and the truth as well, because he was also fined. Let's not forget that. And so, this is a pretty good attack line, going for Sunak again. He can't be trusted with his taxes, kind of true. With all his non-dom stuff, his green card. A green card is a pathway to becoming a US citizen. He's working for the British government. What's that about? He's the second most powerful person in the government.
That this Prime Minister is now on borrowed time until the Tory backbenchers count the cost of their council election defeat. But in the meantime, families are counting the cost.
Surely he's got to, the Speaker's got to tell the rest of them to pipe down because he's shouting.
of a Tory-made cost of living crisis every day. After yesterday's farce, isn't it finally the time for him to accept that neither his party or the public can afford to keep him around as Prime Minister for 1 minute longer?
It's true. Again,
Prime Minister.
Not Blackford's best lines, but pretty good.
If that were true, then I don't think he'd be calling for my resignation. That's what we're going to do is get on with the.
What is it?
I don't think he'd be calling for my resignation.
Prime Minister for 1 minute longer.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if that were true, then I don't think he'd be calling for my resignation. That's what we're going to do is get on.
What would he be calling for then? It doesn't even make sense. What? If that were true, I don't think he'd be calling for my resignation. What would he be calling for? That was a stupid line.
With the job in hand, and that is deliver for the entire people of this country. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, he hasn't answered the point I made yesterday, which I think is still incredible, that at a time when we need to stand up to aggression from Vladimir Putin, it is still the policy of the Scottish Nationalist Party to get rid of this country's unilateral defence.
Is that the SNP one? They want to get rid of Trident? I've not heard of that. Is that true? As long as Boris is there, we are not a democracy. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, as long as he's got anyone who has a larger majority than probably 30, I'd say, we are in an elected dictatorship at that point.
Question, Philip Holloway.
Number 3, sir.
Where is he?
I thank my honourable friend. He's an excellent champion for Kettering, and we're fully committed to the delivery of the new hospital for Kettering. The release of funding will be subject.
I say this as a person who lives in Northampton. Kettering sucks.
To the usual business case assessment process.
The redevelopment of Kettering General Hospital is the #1 local priority for residents in Kettering and across Northamptonshire. Would my right honourable friend be kind
that's me. I don't think he's talking about Northampton North, but it's kind of me.
enough, please, to facilitate a meeting with the Health Secretary for the 3 members for Kettering, Wellingborough, Corby, together with the Hospital Chief Executive, so that we can trigger the start of the drawdown of the initial £46 million worth of funding?
Yes.
Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, my right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, told me that he's met them before and he's happy to meet them again.
Liz Saville-Roberts.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Yfarydd. Plaid Cymru have been calling for 15 years for a law to ban politicians from being willfully misleading. New polling by Compassion in Politics shows that 73% of people support such a law. Will the Prime Minister support a lying in politics bill?
No, obviously not. No, we wouldn't have politicians if that was the case. If they lie, it's part of the thing.
Mr. Speaker, it is.
It's going to say if that's the case, Starmer would have broken the law 50 times or something.
It is well known that the rules of this House demand that we tell the truth in this House, and that's what we all try to do.
That's what we all try to do, but not everyone does it, do they?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. PMQs for a constituency MP like me is a wonderful opportunity to ask the Prime Minister for a new hospital for Doncaster, maybe. Or maybe for Doncaster to be the home of Great British Rail headquarters. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, there is a more pressing issue, and that is that men are dying so much younger than they should. So will the Prime Minister meet with me to
It's one way of calling my line, not getting kicked out. Nice. Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Discuss the merits of having a minister for men and the benefits of a men's health strategy?
I don't think you necessarily need a minister for men. I think that could fall under the remit of the health minister, or maybe you make it a minister for mental health. I think that would be a much better use of time. But you know, I kind of get his point.
That way, the next time I'm fortunate enough to...
Because, I mean, the Women's and Equalities Ministerial position's a joke, because it's Liz Truss, who's also the Brexit Minister, who is also the Foreign Secretary. So, yeah, I would just put it into one thing.
Get a PMQ, I can lobby the Prime Minister for a new hospital for Doncaster, and for Doncaster to be the home of Great British Rail headquarters.
Yeah, I don't fundamentally agree with like everything he said there, but I get his point. It's quite important.
Prime Minister.
I thank my friend, honourable friend, very much for his work in this area, and we are determined to tackle.
Who is also a liar? Yeah.
all the health conditions
That's Johnson.
that he's
That is one shiny head, man. Jesus, there's some light reflecting off that. I don't mean to mock bold people, but like, Javid definitely waxes his head, man. Look at the shine on that.
describes and cares about,
That is
particularly mental health and suicide prevention. And I note his plea for a new hospital. I know it's one that's shared by many colleagues.
Who is the lady sat beside Javid? I'm not sure actually. I don't recognise her. That one's obviously Liz Truss. I don't know who that one is.
Note his plea for a new hospital. I know it's one that's shared by many colleagues on these benches. This is the government that is funding that, making it possible, thanks to the decisions we've taken, allowing our economy to grow, which would not have been possible if we'd listened to them, Mr. Speaker.
Here we go. It's just basic attack for Victoria Adkins. I'm not sure who she is.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this side, not only do we believe that lawbreakers can't be lawmakers, but also that tax raisers should be taxpayers. And when people in
Is this attack on Sunak?
positions pick and choose where they pay their taxes,
Yep.
that's an insult to everyone else who doesn't have that luxury. So can I ask the Prime Minister, how many members of his cabinet have ever been involved in a tax avoidance scheme?
He's not going to be able to answer that, but I would ask how many Tory MPs are non-doms currently. I think that should be looked at.
Prime Minister.
Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, nice.
Mr. Speaker, what we try to do in this government is cut taxes for the whole country, and I'm proud
Which you haven't done. This is the highest tax bill since World War II, I believe. So that's a blatant lie.
to say that what the Chancellor did in the recent spring statement by lifting the threshold for national insurance contributions was to have a tax cut for about £330 for most people in this country. That's a fantastic thing.
£330 a year is good, but it's not going to go far enough given the cost of energy. You know, energy prices have gone up by 54%. £330 in a year is not going to dent, especially when you've put that burden onto people who are just earning slightly more anyways. You know, you've lifted the threshold slightly, but the ones within that that higher threshold will get absolutely battered by national insurance payments. It's going to be insane.
Sarah Atherton.
Yeah, she's looking very green.
Mr. Speaker, if you...
Is she, what do you guys think? Is her dress kind of matching the seats in the Commons? Because that's a bold look. I'm not one of those people who like tries to insult people based on their kind of clothing outfits, but it's weird she's trying to blend in with the House of Commons chairs. That's funny, honestly.
If you live in North Wales and want to watch international sport, you have to travel 4 hours to Cardiff or Swansea.
Shocking.
The Wrexham Racecourse, with its historic cop stand, is home to Wembley-bound Wrexham Football Club. It's the oldest international stadium in the world and forms part of our Levelling Up Fund bid. Would the Prime Minister agree that round 2 of the Levelling Up Fund offers an excellent opportunity to level up access to sport?
It's not a bad idea, but again, if it's about Wrexham Stadium, Wrexham are a private company, so you know they should be able to. Isn't the Wrexham football team's owned by Ryan Reynolds? Is it Ryan Reynolds? Yeah, I think it's Ryan Reynolds and some other rich dude. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds could easily afford it. We've got some more comments. Wait until April 1st, 23, an increase from 19% to 25% for corporation tax. One of that will due to the overall tax take. Yeah, I can. The thing is though, it's not really big companies that pay corporation tax that much, is it? They normally like hide it offshore. It's a lot of the smaller companies that will pay it. I do wonder how many companies will try and kind of change it so they make less profit in that year, if that makes sense. Maybe they funnel it through wages or other means. It'd be quite interesting because 25% is very high. Even I would say that's, you know, even with my beliefs, I think it's quite high. 25% on profit. They kick the public up the balls and expect them to be grateful for the uplift. Absolutely true. Yeah, it applies to smaller companies. So you know, like if you're just a small limited company, that's going to hit you quite hard. Limited, or I think PLC, private limited companies, stuff like that, it's going to hit you quite badly. But I'm assuming you'll just take more money out via dividends or via whatever method you're paid at that point. I think it'll lead to a lot more conversations with your accountant during that year.
Well, there could be no...
It's interesting, actually, you know, 2023, that financial year, that would be going into an election year. So it'd be quite interesting to see if businesses, knowing that they have to, experiencing that higher tax rate, would they still want to vote Tory? That could be quite interesting fact, That's actually a good point. I didn't actually realise, because obviously elections are 24 financial year. If you say it's between 23 and 24, that could be something worth keeping an eye on, mate, to be honest.
Better campaigner for Wrexham and for the interest.
Dividends are subject to personal tax also, unless you send your kids to private school. Yeah, but it's a capital gains tax, isn't it? It's not a it doesn't go through income tax, does it? It goes for capital gains. Javid, hello traveller. The cave gremlin can show you how to avoid tax and steal lots more. He says, rubbing his hands gleefully. I'm a non-dom.
Of Wrexham sport, I will do what I can, Mr. Speaker.
We'll go to about the 1 o'clock mark, ladies and gentlemen. I've got videos and stuff I need to record, so I've got a lot of work I have to do today. But I'll go away, Google. But yeah, I enjoy doing these streams.
She'll know that 121 million from the first round of the Levelling Up Fund was awarded to Wales, and
do you know what, guys? Do you know what I saw? Hi, Roseanne. You know what I saw the other day, right? I saw the government. I can put this in the Discord server, actually. I saw the government try and take credit, I think, for EU structural funds. What I'll do is, I'm going to put a link in for the Discord server, right? And then I'm going to post that picture. I'm going to post that picture in a minute. So yeah, if you guys want to join, that's my kind of second channel thing. If you want to click that link, that'll take you to my Discord server. I'm going to post that picture, the one I'm talking about. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. So like, I'm just going off this, just to kind of go on a tangent about the levelling up thing. It goes, the government have a 9.7 million commitment from the government's town fund, but it also has a European mark on it, an EU kind of structural mark thing. So that means it's the EU that I think have partially funded this. So it's quite interesting. They're trying to take credit from the town fund when part of the money came from the EU. So yeah, it's very disingenuous, I'll say. But yeah, we'll go back to watching some more PMQs. But if you guys want to join the server, go for it.
Wrexham, which I'm sure Wrexham has every chance of success in the future.
Christian Wade.
I don't think Wrexham's actually doing that well financially. Yeah, it's not too bad fact, to be honest. A lot of it is muscle memory at this point, because once you research certain things once, you kind of get a good kind of understanding of it. But thanks, mate. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing all right health-wise, man.
Speaker, the Prime Minister has been asked about sodium valproate scandal previously, but Sean Linton at the Sunday Times this weekend revealed that campaigners were blacklisted, including my constituent Emma Murphy, who is here in the gallery today. Advice from the Cumberledge report has been ignored, warnings are still not on medication as of a couple of weeks ago, and a redress scheme is still not forthcoming. Will the Prime Minister meet with me and campaigners like Emma to discuss what can be done to right this incredible wrong?
Prime Minister. I thank you very much for raising the point. I understand that we've had a review already of the issue, but I'll make sure that he has.
From what I read, the medication affects pregnant women really badly. I think it was pinned by one of the Sunday Times writers on their Twitter. More comments, how I think European. It depends what the Europeans are thinking. And saying, we've never done that well financially in Wrexham. It was always a Labour town until they got duped by Brexit. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the... A lot of towns are like that.
A proper meeting, or he and the campaigners that he mentions have a proper meeting with the relevant minister in the health department.
Yeah. Robert Jenrick. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Robert Jenrick, he just criticised recently the hurdles you have to go to take in Ukrainian refugees. So that's what he's got to say.
A constituent, Aidan Aslin, has served in the Ukrainian armed.
I'm not going to be mean, but that sounds like a Marvel or a DC name. Aidan Aslin sounds like something Stan Lee would come up with.
Forces for 4 years. Last week, he was captured by the Russian army in Mariupol. Yesterday, a video emerged of my constituent handcuffed, physically injured, and being interviewed under duress for propaganda purposes. Would my right honourable friend agree with me that this is a flagrant breach of the Geneva Convention, that treating any prisoner of war in this manner is illegal, and that the interviewer, Graham Phillips, is in danger of prosecution for war crimes, and that any online platform, such as YouTube, which hosts Propaganda videos of this kind should take them down immediately.
Okay, it's interesting. He's that person was captured by the Russians and used as propaganda. He talks about the Geneva Convention, which sadly most countries don't care about international law unless it's someone else breaking it. But we'll see what Johnson has to say. Yeah, I hope you get better soon. But as long as you and others keep going, it won't be us. It won't be anyone on YouTube that makes a difference in the upcoming elections. It'll be the television media. To be honest, they'll be the ones to make the difference. If they call out the Tories when they lie on their programs, like Fiona Bruce did last week to Greg Hands, then we'll be okay. But if they don't, then I can see another majority. Putin doesn't care about the Geneva Convention. He's bombing areas indiscriminately. Yeah, neither did the Americans. To be fair, I don't think anyone cares about the Geneva Convention. To be honest.
I thank my right honourable friend very much, and I think everybody will want to will urge the Russian state to treat his constituent humanely and compassionately, because in my view, although we do not encourage people, in fact we actively dissuade people from going to that theatre of conflict, I understand that he'd been serving in the Ukrainian forces for some time. And his
4 years, which is quite surprising. I know Ukraine's been at civil war for about, I think, since 2014, but it's surprising he's been there for that long.
Situation was very different from that of a mercenary, Mr. Speaker. I hope that he is treated with care.
Yeah, social media. I'm gonna do more on Twitter beyond my mad ramblings about the annoyance of Manchester United. I will try and before the next election, 2024. I'm hoping the channel grows out a bit more and we can hit say 10, 15k subs, and I can do a lot more in terms of projects. A lot of Tory opponents and senior positions inside are quietly waiting for the next election to strike at them. I hope so. I really do hope so, Arsie.
Care and compassion. I thoroughly echo the sentiments that my right honourable.
I'll definitely try and grow Twitter. It's quite difficult to do though, unless you go quite viral, like Stefanovic. So I'll give Twitter more of a go. But yeah, apart from my mad ramblings about Manchester United, I don't do a lot more on Twitter.
Friend has expressed about those who broadcast propaganda messages.
James Murray.
Mr. Speaker, this Conservative government is raising taxes on working people in the middle of a cost of living crisis. So can I press the Prime Minister on whether he agrees that it would add insult to injury if his Chancellor or any other government ministers were to benefit from overseas tax havens in their personal tax affairs?
Personal tax affairs. I don't know if that would include spouse as well, but we'll see what Johnson has to say. What is this thing in the middle, by the way? Does anyone know what that is?
Mr. Speaker. Good point, Mr. Speaker, but we are responsible for cutting taxes for everybody, which is what we're actually doing.
That's not even true. Like, bro, highest tax burden since World War II. Like, this man just straight up lies. He couldn't mention Geneva Convention also, as it covers, refugees and asylum seekers, which the government don't really care for. Even the Ukrainian ones as well. They're not being treated as well as they should be. You know, anyone who believes that refugees have to stay in the first safe nation or should stay in the first safe nation are absolute clowns.
Bell. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Newcastle-under-Lyme is receiving over £50 million of government investment into our High Street and the High Street in Kidsgrove, in my honourable friend's neighbouring constituency. But it's all being overshadowed by the ongoing environmental disaster at Wally's Quarry. In January, the operator was hit by...
Okay, here we go. He's giving context.
3 Category 1 breaches by the Environment Agency. My constituents are utterly sick of it. It's been going on for far too long, Prime Minister. We need to see tougher enforcement. We need to see the permit taken away. What hope can you give my constituents? How can we stop the stink?
I think he's talking about sewage. And, there's been a sewage problem in the UK for a lot longer than I thought. I've got it in a video coming out about 4:15 UK time today, which, talks about, massive discharge of sewage back in 2013, 2014. It's just crazy. I didn't realise it was that bad. I thought it was more recent, because of Brexit. Companies have struggled to get the chemicals in that they need, at least they're claiming to. So the government's allowed them to discharge more sewage into the waterways, which we're seeing the deaths of more kind of rivers and microorganisms and things like that. And evidently that MP there, his constituency, are getting sick of it as well, where they just dump raw sewage into the water. It's crazy, honestly. I've heard of senior business figures ready to attack the Tories at the next election. You got any names? I'll see, that'd be interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my honourable friend has raised this issue before, and I know how...
Well, if he's raised this issue, what are you doing about it then, you donkey?
Infuriating it is for his constituents. That's why my right honourable friend, the Environment Secretary, has now ordered action against the site operator, and permanent capping will begin on site next month, I can tell him.
Next month? But they're dealing with this thing now. And, you know, the simple fact is that the Tories allow this stuff to happen. These water companies make millions through dividends and other things, and they don't reinvest the money. You know, what these key utilities, right, water, energy, gas, also electricity, gas, all of these, internet, maybe even, these key things should not be in private ownership, honestly. Should not be there.
That will improve things for thousands of residents in his constituency, and if it is necessary to take further action to remove these malodorous vapours, Mr. Speaker, then we will.
Luke Jones.
It's a public health hazard, you joker.
Mr. Speaker, with details of the Sougray report trickling out, a flood of photos of Partygate yet to be released, and any number of
the photos.
Fixed penalty notices liable to be leaked. This is a Prime Minister that's not fit to run a bath, never mind this. It's time for him to stop this ridiculous charade that he believes no rules were broken. So will he commit to making public every fixed penalty notice he receives? Will he publish the party photos taken by the official photographer?
That's paid at taxpayers' expense, by the way. Those pictures were taken at taxpayers' expense, which is phenomenal.
Sougray's report is published at the earliest opportunity. We have a right to know the truth.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on the my own fixed penalty notice, I've been transparent with the House. I apologise. On the rest of it, I'm
still amazed he actually said, like, he got fine. I'm still genuinely amazed at that, because he didn't have to.
The rest of it, and will be, Mr. Speaker, but on the rest of it, I really think, as I've said before, that the House should wait to the conclusion of the investigation when Sougray will be finally reporting.
Is she still working on it? I thought she was finished. I thought they were waiting for the Met Police to do an investigation. Like, are we still waiting for Sougray? Honestly, at this point.
Sir John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Long ago, in a far-off place, thousands of British servicemen sailed into what for them was the unknown as they witnessed the early tests of nuclear weapons. They've lived with the consequence of the service to our nation ever since. Following a PMQ from the Honourable Member for Salford, the Prime Minister has agreed to meet me and her and those veterans. But will he now assure the House that he will take personal charge of the decision on whether to grant the remaining servicemen, for there are few left, the service medal they so richly deserve?
Prime Minister.
I thank him very much. I thank my right honourable friend very much. I thank him for campaigning on this issue, which I know attracts support across the House, and I certainly will take personal charge of the matter myself and make sure that they receive the recognition they deserve.
That's an easy win for the Prime Minister. I think he should probably do that one. Fair enough, I'll see if you can't name them. We'll see what happens. I think that's an easy win. They should probably do that, to be honest.
Liz Twist.
Mr. Speaker, my constituents across Blaydon knew the rules and stuck to the rules.
You knew the rules, and so do I. Some Rick Astley for you there.
Nurses and teachers included. No after-work drinks.
Everyone's taking a dig at Michael Fabricant here. He's some, like, Donald Trump, B-Tech guy, yeah, and everyone's just taking a stab at him. This is just, why? It kind of reminds me when everyone on Twitter went after Femi for saying stupid stuff. I mean, well, why are they going after Fabricant, honestly?
For them. The Prime Minister set these rules. Night after night, he was on national TV to exhort us to stick to the rules for everyone's sake. Yet he continues to say that he doesn't think he broke any rules.
That's actually true. I agree with you there. In fact, Donald Trump does have a better toupee, should we say. He has a better toupee.
My constituents are angry that while they stuck to the law, the Prime Minister broke it. Trust in his government is broken. So when will he go?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I understand the feelings of her constituents, and I continue to express my apologies for the FPN that I received. But what the government is going to do is get on with tackling the issues that face this country and delivering for the British people, and that is my priority.
Robert Butlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of my constituents, like many others across our country, has been helping directly with the humanitarian effort in Ukraine and the region, and he received a most troubling message from a resident of the city of Kherson only days ago, and I quote from part of it. "There are no green corridors for evacuation. People are trying to flee the city at their own risk under fire. The Russians are living in our homes. They are plotting terror, robbing, harassing, kidnapping and killing our people, doing whatever they want." Mr. Speaker, what more can my right honourable friend and the international community do to ensure that Putin and those who do his bidding are brought to justice for their crimes?
Apart from, I don't think there's much we can do. I don't know if Russia is part of the International Criminal Court. I think it'd be a bit of a struggle to really hold the Russians accountable, like individual Russians, for war crimes. I don't know if FACT would know what avenues are available, but I don't think there'd be a lot, considering like other countries that have committed potential war crimes weren't punished either, and neither were their soldiers. Really, it went through the court systems of those individual countries.
Prime Minister.
Well, I think that my honourable friend, is making an incredibly important point, because the savagery that the Russians
it's Dominic
are now
Raab. I didn't even see him. Hi, Rob.
Unleashing on Ukraine clearly knows no limits, and is clearly authorised from the very top. And she asked what more we can do. I think what we need to do is make it clear to serving officers now in the Russian forces that they will, if we can proceed with the international criminal prosecutions that we want to see, they will eventually face justice in the way that those who participated in massacres in Bosnia faced justice in the past. And I
don't think Rwanda was subject to international court proceedings. I think that's internal only. Could be wrong. As soon as the Russian war criminal steps foot outside Russia, the ICC can attack. Well, I suppose so, but I can't see a lot of these Russians going. I can't see a lot of these Russian officers leaving Russia. In all honesty, they might go to like, kind of the neighbouring kind of the Eurasian countries, or like Kazakhstan or something like that. But I can't see them leaving that kind of orbit to go into like kind of Poland or anywhere else.
Hope, Mr. Speaker, that will have a chilling effect on their current appalling conduct.
I don't think they care about prosecutions in the future, let's be honest here.
Dick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, every week
Excuse me.
Examples emerge of government waste during COVID. And last year, the former Health Secretary told me that there'd be no profiteering and no cronyism.
Well, he lied to you, Chief, because there's been a lot of profiteering and a lot of cronyism. Shouts out to the Good Law Project for finding most of this out.
Does the Prime Minister still agree with him?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think that a lot of people made money, I'm sad to say, out of COVID.
I mean, you guys set up the VIP lane. It was 100% determined for them to make money. I am the capital and all of these companies. So don't really want to hear it, mate.
In a way that perhaps they shouldn't have done. We
covered a story about some American jeweler, right, who made loads of money from it. He had like a Street Fighter name villain kind of thing. I can't remember his name. Handsome guy though. You should call him the Handsome Bandit. I think that's what I might have called him on the video. But he made a lot of money from it. He claimed he did nothing wrong. And the thing is, right, in the kind of agreements or contracts the government gave out, they didn't, by the looks of things, give the right specifications or for the kind of PPE we wanted. So they bought in masks that don't fit properly, and other bits of PPE that don't work properly. We bought in a load of PPE from Turkey that we couldn't even use. So it's just, he's just lying here. A lot of people made a lot of money of stuff we couldn't even use. Forget the profit margins they were making, right? We couldn't even use some of this stuff. It's just sat in airfields, and it's still costing us money to rent the airfield space. It's ridiculous, honestly.
Deplore that, and we are trying to recoup as much as we possibly can. But I would just remind him of the constant clamour from those benches and around the country for us to equip our country with PPE, with medicines as fast as possible.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. You guys, if people make profit off it, okay, that's, it's going to happen. But my biggest issue is that the VIP lanes and also the PPE that was unusable. Those are my two biggest problems with it.
And that we did, Mr. Speaker.
Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Russell.
Would the Prime Minister join me in thanking the brilliant staff and volunteers at Watford General
Some long slip back hair, you know. I haven't seen a haircut like that in a while.
Hospital for their tireless work for our community over many years? And would he agree with me?
It's the lift I haven't seen. Normally it's like you wear a headband or something, it's a bit slower down. Like, I'm not going to criticise man's haircut too much, but it's a bit of a strange one.
That we should get started as soon as possible on the ambitious plans put forward by West Herts Hospital Trust as part of the new hospital programme to transform healthcare across our whole community so staff and patients can access world-class health services in facilities fit for the 21st century. And Mr Speaker, if I may add, the ambitious plans are truly shovel-ready. I will gladly go and buy a shovel today to get started.
Well then, get a shovel, save the taxpayer some money and actually do something productive.
Mr. Speaker, he is a fantastic champion for Watford, and he's been. I know that because
we'll do one more question after this one, then we'll have to call it a day.
To see him several times, he's been campaigning on this issue to get a hospital in Watford ever since he was triumphantly elected, and he's going to be successful because there will be a new hospital scheme in his local area 2030, Mr. Speaker.
Sir Thomas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister's fundamental political problem at the moment isn't about parties or fixed penalties.
I have no idea, but it's hilarious. He had so much stuff in his hair. Let's go back quickly.
The Prime Minister's fundamental political problem at the moment isn't about parties or fixed penalty notices or cake. It's about the lack of trust, integrity and credibility at the heart of government, which he himself now personifies. Mr. Speaker, when is the Prime Minister going to realise that people don't want to hear any more glib, half-hearted non-apologies or hear him witter on about getting on with the job? They just want this Pinocchio Prime Minister.
Just checked. A one-off tribunal was set up to investigate the genocide of Rwanda. It only operates under the authority of the Rwandan government and not Geneva. Let's see how UK refugees are treated. I mean, it's gonna be bad, isn't it? This whole idea is, I think, once a couple of the planes have taken off the ground, or before they could even get people onto those planes, I think we're going to see a lot of court challenges, genuinely a lot of court challenges, and appeals and things like that. This will cost the taxpayer a lot more money than just the 120 million initial cost. It's gonna be a lot more than that, given the amount of that we're gonna have to pay lawyers. It's despicable. Like, this whole thing's a sham. They should be setting up processing centres in France and other countries to really help out. But it's just a joke. I mean, what more can you say, man, on that one? I'm gonna do a live stream on it, maybe tonight, or maybe I'll probably do it Saturday or something. I'm working on a live stream for like the Priti Patel stuff specifically, just because it's just shocking, to be honest. And the more people talk about it, the more despicable it is. You know, the more despicable it looks.
His bags and go.
Yeah, I mean, some good points from gentlemen here. You know, it's not about just what happened; it's about the lies and the cover up as well. That, you know, if these Tory MPs do not back an investigation into it, they're complicit in this.
Mr. Speaker, I think when are the Scottish people going to hear any... sorry, Mr. Speaker, when are the Scottish people going to hear an ounce of sense from the Scottish Nationalist
Prime Minister,
Party?
we both can't stand up at the same time. I'm trying to be helpful. We've got to be more moderate in taunting language use. Pinocchio is not acceptable. I'm sure the member wishes to withdraw it with...
Oh, you can't use that sort of language in Pinocchio. Oh, we have decorum in this house. Even though he was calling Starmer tiny-brained. Like, we're not allowed to use insults, but the Prime Minister is. This guy, honestly, I'm getting sick of this geezer.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw that, but he packs his bags and goes. Minister.
It's not a withdrawal.
Withdrawn it. Sorry, you've withdrawn it. You're with it. Let's get on. Prime Minister.
I do appreciate how he glossed over that, but yeah. I think he's a guy who doesn't like conflict, to be honest.
Is that your answering anything?
Sorry, I don't know what his question is, Mr. Speaker. He's withdrawn it, but the answer is that we're going to get on with the job. It'd be nice to hear an ounce of sense from the Scottish Nationalist Party or some competent government.
And again, it's not called the Scottish Nationalist Party, is it? Alright, this is the last one, guys.
The London Borough of Barnes is surrounded by Labour councils, all of which have higher council tax and have abandoned weekly bin collections. So will the Prime Minister urge everyone to come out on the 5th 5th of May and vote Conservative in order to keep council tax lower than Labour and to protect our weekly bin collection.
I mean, I live in a place where they have, we have a Tory council, right? West Northamptonshire Council, Google it. And for some reason, right, on my street, there is weekly bin collection, but in other people's streets that are literally nearby, they have bi-weekly bin collections, and I have no idea why that is. It's very strange. But honestly, I live in a Tory constituent, like Tory council. There are bi-weekly bin collections, so you know her argument there about that doesn't make any sense. About the council tax being higher, I wouldn't be surprised if these Tory councils were receiving more money from the government than the Labour ones are. Genuinely wouldn't be surprised. So if you're voting in the council elections next week, or no, May the 5th, whenever it is, don't vote Tory, honestly.
Quite right, Mr. Speaker. Conservative councils fix 4 times more potholes.
You know what the irony is, right? We had... Oh, sorry. Can you... If you repost that, I can put it public again. YouTube have blocked it. You know, the simple fact is, the constituency I live in, Andrea Leadsom even called it one of the, I think, the worst council in the country. You have a Conservative MP criticising a Conservative council. My one was so bad they had to change the whole council system because it was that shambolic. Google it.
Recycle twice as much, and Conservative councils, Mr. Speaker, charge less.
Tom Hopkins.
Mr. Speaker,
Yeah, gotta go.
the
See you later,
Ministerial Code states that ministers have a duty to comply with the law and to protect the integrity of public life. The Prime Minister has broken the law and repeatedly
Just see what Johnson
principles
says.
of honesty and gone.
Mr. Speaker, I know why they want me gone, because this government is going to get on. We are going to get on and show why this Conservative government is going to deliver for the British people, fixing our cost of living issues, making sure
cost
we
of living
solve
issues you create, okay?
our long-term energy problems, and
Which your party did nothing to solve over the last 12 years, okay?
and delivering on everything that we promised to do, Mr. Speaker. And they...
Yeah, I mean, you broke multiple, manifesto promises, so another lie.
They have absolutely no plan. That's the difference.
They do have plans on certain things. This is why I think Labour should have more plans. But yeah.
David Evan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Probably.
On these benches, we were elected to make the most of our Brexit freedoms.
Okay, this should be
including,
This should be doozy.
They don't like it, Mr. Speaker. They don't like it. But including tackling immigration, illegal immigration, securing our borders, and crack down on the evil people smuggling trade.
And you realise after Brexit happened, we actually saw an increase of people crossing the Channel. Is that because we're out of Dublin 3?
Does my right honourable friend agree that our groundbreaking partnership with Rwanda will do just that?
Well, I don't think I've visited the Labour website in a long time. Why? What's on the Labour website? Is there anything there? Anyways, we'll see what this joke
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it is a part of the solution. And it's something that, as I said just now, was advocated in 2004 by the then Home Secretary.
There's a cut here.
David Blunkett.
When a regime has been in power too long, when it has fatally exhausted the
This will be the last one. We're pretty much done with PMQs, I think. It's the end of stream.
patience of the people, and when oblivion finally beckons, across
Elder Scrolls
the
reference?
world,
Oblivion? Elder Scrolls Oblivion?
you can rely on leaders of that regime to act solely in the interests of self-preservation and not in the interests of the electorate.
In fairness,
His words, Mr. Speaker, Daily Telegraph, 28th of February 2011. Does he
The Johnson regime's only been around since 2019, which is crazy.
still agree? Yes or no?
Okay, just like, what? He just like looks up, so what the hell? And then he's just like, what? Am I meant to answer this?
Mr. Speaker, all I can say is that I'm delighted that she's a reader of the Daily Telegraph. I think what she needs to do is keep going to the end of the article. That's my advice to her.
What's at the end of the article, Johnson? Because that was not a defence of anything.
We now come to the 10-minute rule bill.
Yeah, okay, that's PMQ's done.
Let's just let the room clear.
Right, so, yeah, which play? Yeah, I don't think that was the best performance from anyone, really. I don't think anyone did that great. I think Starmer's speech yesterday was a lot better than anything come up with today. He was looking for short little soundbite. I'm going to turn this down a bit, actually. He was looking for kind of soundbite-y kind of answers, which, excuse me, I just don't think he got. So yeah, I'm not, in the words of John St. Pierre, I'm not impressed. To amend the words of John St. Pierre, I'm not impressed by his performance, But yeah, what more can you say apart from Johnson didn't do too great, Guy looks feral. Catch you around. Yeah, see you later, Anne. Yeah, we'll call it here. I've got like a lot of videos I've got to make anyway, so yeah, I'll probably stream PMQs this weekend. I'm gonna do more stuff on the Preet Patel thing. I'm try and do a live stream on that one, or I might just do it in a video. I don't know yet. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. And I'm out. Where's the end stream button?